Hello and welcome to another video from the Marriage and Family Clinic. My name is Aaron Anderson. I'm the director here. Today we're going to be talking about when is it time to go see a marriage counselor. This is a very important question because the timing of when you go see a marriage counselor can often determine whether or not counseling is going to be successful or not. So pay attention. We're going to give you some tips about when you should go see a marriage counselor. First things first is if there's any kinds of sexual difficulties, we recommend for you to go see a marriage counselor. The reason for that is because the sex education that you got back in high school, in the classroom and in the locker rooms, are just inadequate. You might have learned the plumbing, you might have learned the mechanics, you might have even learned a few dirty jokes here and there. But if you're having sexual related difficulties, the stuff that you learned in your sex education classes are just inadequate. They're not going to cut it. Especially if there are things such as erectile dysfunction or other matters like that. The sex education that you got isn't going to be that helpful to help with that. So if there's any kinds of sexual difficulties, that's an important time to go see a marriage counselor. Another time is if there's any kinds of communication difficulties. You know how to communicate. You do it at work, you do it with family, and if you're having a hard time doing it with your spouse, there's usually a reason for that. There's something bigger going on or something deeper perhaps going on. And so if you're having difficulties communicating and you're having the same arguments over and over again, you just can't come to any kind of resolution about it, that's a good time to go see a marriage counselor and get things fixed before they become a bigger problem, or that bigger problem that's causing the communication problems can get fixed so it doesn't come up in other ways too. Another time we recommend for you to come see a marriage counselor is if there's any kind of infidelity. Now this is one, unfortunately, the couples put off way too long. When a couple discovers an infidelity, it's often the couple's in shock. They don't know what to do. They don't even know if their marriage is going to last or not, and so they'll often put off seeing a marriage counselor for a while, and then matters happen and just makes it more difficult to treat. So if there's any kinds of infidelity, be sure to come see a marriage counselor sooner than later. When you come see a marriage counselor, we can guide you through the discovery process of what you do now that you've discovered an affair. We help you through the triage process of making sure that things don't get worse before they get better. We help you guys rebuild trust, and then ultimately help you build a more satisfying and fulfilling relationship that's even better than the relationship before the infidelity occurred. So if there's any kind of infidelity, make sure you go see a marriage counselor then too. Another time we recommend for you to go see a marriage counselor is if you're going to be blending a family. The reason we recommend this, and it doesn't mean that blended families are inherently doomed, because blended families live by a different set of rules. You know how a nuclear biological family works. That was your first marriage, and that didn't quite work so well. And so when you're blending families, there are new rules that have to be considered. For example, if you have a child who's the oldest, and all of a sudden when you get married, now they have two older step siblings, those same roles just don't fit anymore. And then two, rules that you had in your family in your first marriage, and then your new partner's rules coming in, sometimes they just don't blend well. And so what we find is that if you're going to be blending a family, come in to see a marriage counselor sooner than later before you tie the knot. Get some stuff sorted out so that you can make sure that you're blending your family successfully. Overall, and this is the biggest tip that we give, is the sooner you go see a marriage counselor, the better. I always say that going to see a marriage counselor is like going to see a dentist. Nobody really wants to go. And so usually people will put it off and they'll put it off until the pain just becomes unbearable and they finally bite the bullet and go see a marriage counselor. When that happens, it makes it much more difficult because usually there's much more hurt that's been going on. There's a lot more communication challenges that have been going on, and these challenges have almost become habit because they've been going on long enough or for that long to create it into a habit. And so if you're even just thinking or wondering if you should go see a marriage counselor, that's the time to go see a marriage counselor. Get it nipped in the bud early, get the problem fixed. Your marriage is too important, life is too short to continue on with problems, and you deserve a better, happier relationship anyway. So those are the tips. I hope you like them. If you have any other tips, please leave them in the comments below and also comment about what you think of the tips I just gave.